Hi there, everyone. Mr. Lewis here, coming to you from my blank void of a home office because I'm currently under quarantine. So, unfortunately, I won't be back to school until Tuesday, November 10th. Fortunately, I've had virtual students all year long, so this shouldn't be too much of a change from what you would normally see in the Buzz agenda each day. The big change is that instead of giving in person lectures and going through the notes that way, obviously we're going to have to do it through video. So I'm going to be creating these video lectures for each day to give you instructions, to give you new information, whatever it might be. I need your help though in really staying on top of your game in this class while I'm gone. So please make sure you're doing a great job of checking the Buzz agenda every single day and reading through in detail what I'm asking of you. It won't be too much, I promise you that, but we need to keep moving forward and we need to make sure that we're staying on track, we're staying on pace as best we can while I'm gone. So, with that said, let's jump into today's activities. Okay, your final challenge in Unit 3 for AP Micro is to graph short run changes. Now, I'm not actually going to ask you to graph those freehand today because I am in quarantine. So instead, I thought it would be better to have you practice some questions that might appear or questions that are similar to what will appear on your Unit 3 test. And we will practice graphing these when I return. So here's what we're talking about. What we've learned up to this point is that this is what our perfectly competitive market on the left and individual firm on the right look like in long run equilibrium. In the market, you've got supply and demand, nice easy equilibrium. That price is identical to what the individual firm is going to charge because each individual firm in perfect competition is a price taker. They just charge the price that the market tells them to. So that becomes this constant unchanging price, which also results in their demand curve. It's also the marginal revenue curve. It's also the average revenue. It is a constant unchanging price. Marginal cost takes on this J shape. That's our orange curve here. Starts up here, comes down, gets really, really efficient, but then diminishing returns kick in and it comes back up. As soon as it passes up the ATC curve also starts to increase. That's average total cost. Those two curves always have that relationship. When margin is less than the average is decreasing, even if margin is increasing. If it's less than average is coming down. Once it passes up the average starts to come back up. So we're moving along the y-axis, measuring dollars here, right? So the other important thing to note is that the average cost curve hits the demand curve, our yellow curve here, at the point where this firm is operating. So in other words, the point at which marginal revenue and marginal cost meet, that's our marginal principal, or where the orange curve and the yellow curve meet here, at this point, this is the quantity where this firm is maximizing profit. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Look at the gap here between our price in yellow and ATC, which is how we determine profit, price minus ATC. Up to that point, the red curve is above the yellow. So we're losing money at all of these outputs. We're also losing money at all of these outputs over here because the red curve is above the yellow. The only point where we're breaking even is right here, and that will always be the case for each individual firm in the long run. They are breaking even. They are earning zero profit. But sometimes, as we learned in the past, the market sees changes. Supply can shift. Demand can shift. There might be taxes imposed on the market. There might be subsidies offered to the market. There might be price floors and price ceilings and all kinds of stuff that might happen. So we need to look at the impact of that. We're going to look at an increase in demand, a decrease in demand, an increase in supply, and a decrease in supply. And based on all four of those types of changes, you should be able to apply much more than that, like a price ceiling, for example, or a price floor. Essentially, you want to think about it like this. Whatever happens in this market is going to be reflected by the individual firm. So let's do one of these. If demand were to increase in the market, for some reason there is a short run increase in demand, in the short run then, we have a new equilibrium in the market. The quantity increases and the price increases. And because that price increases, the individual firm is a price taker. They're going to charge that price too. That is going to become their new constant price, which means it's also their demand curve, D2, marginal revenue 2, AR2. All of these things are moving up because the price in the market moved up. Also, we now have a different point. We used to produce this quantity, right? But now marginal revenue isn't here anymore. It's up here at MR2. This is the one we care about now. That intersects with our orange curve, marginal cost, at this point, which means this is our new output. And if you look at our new output, check this out. The price in yellow is up here. The average cost curve is down here. There's a gap between those two things, price and average cost. And whenever price is greater than average cost, guess what? We're earning profit. So a short run shift in demand in the market leads to short run economic profits for the individual firm. We also see this happen with a decrease in demand, except it's the opposite result, right? If demand in the market shifts to the left, we see a decrease in demand. That's now going to result in an equilibrium price and quantity that are both lower from the original equilibrium. So price comes down and quantity decreases as well. And because of that, the new price is reflected by the individual firm. That becomes the new demand curve. That becomes the new marginal revenue curve. That becomes the new average revenue curve. And also, we have a new point where the marginal cost curve intersects with the marginal revenue, MR2. That happens here. So that's going to become QF2, the new quantity produced by the firm. And if every individual firm is decreasing their quantity, you can see why the market quantity would be decreased, right? And the ATC curve is way up here. Our red ATC curve is way above our new price of PM2, right? This yellow curve here. So instead of earning economic profits, now we're incurring economic losses. Okay, we are not earning profits, we are incurring losses here, and that can be measured by this price to the average cost and over. Also, notice, when we're earning profits here, a lot of people make the mistake of going all the way down to the old demand curve and over. It's price minus ATC. So price is up here minus ATC where we hit the red curve and then over. Just keep that in mind as we start to graph some of these things. So a short run increase in supply, very similar to what we just saw. In this case, the price is going to decrease because we have a new equilibrium here in the market. So quantity increases, but price decreases, right? Greater supply leads to a lower price, leads to a decreased demand curve for the individual firm, leads to a decreased quantity. Average cost is up here, price is down here, so the firm is incurring losses. On the other hand, if we see a decrease in supply in the market, that price at equilibrium is going to be driven up. And now the firm can charge a greater price and they're producing a greater quantity and price is greater than ATC. Here's that gap. And so that entire area would be profit. So these short run shifts can cause different short run results for the individual firms in that market. However, what happens in the long run kind of depends on what sort of industry we're talking about, right? We know one thing, the firms that are still there in the long run are earning zero profit. That's guaranteed. The firms that are still operating in the long run earn normal profits, zero profit, okay? But what about the number of firms? Well, if there's short-run profits, that's going to attract firms, so that would increase the number of companies in the market in the long run. If there are short-run losses, that's going to decrease the number of firms because we're going to see firms exit the market, and there are no barriers to entry or exit, so they can do that. But the long run price depends more on, I am one. It depends more on the type of industry that we're talking about. So if we're in an increasing cost industry, we learned about this the other day. You can check back in your notes here. Let's see. That would be slide number 59 or 60 there. Okay, if they're an increasing cost industry, as more firms enter the market, we're going to see an increased price. But in a constant cost industry, as more firms come into the market, the price is going to stay the same. So that's key. If you're dealing with a question where we have a constant cost industry, yeah, there might be short run increases or decreases in price, but in the long run, that price is, our supply is perfectly elastic, right? So that price is staying exactly the same in a constant cost industry. All right, with that said, you only have one level to complete, 5 questions to go with these short run changes today. It's actually level 3 of your perfect competition level up challenge. It's in Buzz. It is open for you. So have at it. Good luck, and I will be back tomorrow with more information. So long, everyone.